Shalom Yasharala, Yahawah, Bahasham, Hamashiach Yahawashai, Barakatham. My name is Officer Ahhad with D Light of Zion under Priest Kahan and Chief Minister Shalimar. And today's class is going to be on our diet according to scriptures. What the Most High said we can eat, what the Most High said we can eat, how we should deal with the meats that we do eat, so on and so forth. Because coming into this truth, everything gets revamped. Every um section of your life, it gets revamped, right? It gets converted over to righteousness, the righteous way on how to deal with things. So we got to look into what the Most High commanded us to eat, what He commanded us not to eat, because it may seem like something small, but when we read in the scriptures, right, there's a judgment for people who decide that, well, I'm gonna just eat whatever I want to eat. I'm gonna just do whatever I want to do, whether it be when the Most High come back, or whether it be throughout your life, developing diseases and so on and so forth. So I'm going to touch on a couple of scriptures pertaining to the dietary law and some other misconceptions that are taught in the churches as to kind of diminish the dietary law that the Most High gave us. So we're going to start off with the book of Leviticus, chapter 11 and verse 1. And it reads, And the Most High spake unto Moses and to Aaron, saying unto them, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, These are the beasts which ye shall eat among all the beasts that are on the earth. Whatsoever parteth the hoof, and is cloven-footed, and cheweth the cud among the beasts, that ye shall eat. So the Most High said it has to meet these three criteria. It has to part the hoof, has to be cloven-footed, has to chew the cud. Verse 4, Nevertheless, these shall ye not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the hoof, as the camel, because he cheweth the cud, but divide not the hoof, he is unclean to you. So if they don't meet all three requirements, they are considered an unclean beast. So once again, it has to chew the cud, it has to be cloven-footed, and it has to part the hoof. If it does not meet those three requirements, then it is an unclean beast. Now, throughout this whole chapter, there's plenty of bees, fowls, creepers, thing that's mentioned that we aren't to eat. But there are mainly some animals in here that our people deal with. So those are the verses that I'm gonna go to. So let's go down to verse 7. It says, And the swine, also known as the pig, the baconator, the pepperoni pizza, though he divide the hoof and be cloven-footed, yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean to you. So what do we see here again? It doesn't meet those three requirements. He divides the hoof, he is cloven-footed, but he does not chew the cud. Thus, the pig, the swine is an unclean animal. The bacon, it should not be eaten. Regardless of what is said, it should not be eaten. Because we're in the book of Leviticus. We're in Torah. We're in the laws of God. And the laws of God say that the pig, the swine, is not to be consumed. Verse 8, Of their flesh shall ye not eat, and their carcass shall ye not touch. They are unclean to you. So you shouldn't even be touching a dead pig. And last time I checked, in order to, especially when you're dealing with meat, in order to eat it, you got to kill the animal first. Right. So if you're not even supposed to touch his carcass, there's no way that it should even make it into your kitchen. Leave it at the supermarket, leave it at whatever. Don't deal with it. Thus saith the scriptures, thus saith the Most High. Let's go down to verse 9. Because another thing that our people like to eat is the shrimp, the crab, the lobsters, the oysters, the mussels, all of these things. But let's see what the scriptures say about those particular animals in the waters. Verse 9. These shall ye eat of all that are in the waters, whatsoever hath fins and scales in the waters. In the seas and in the rivers, them shall ye eat. So it has two criteria for the things that are in the waters. Fins and scales. Not just fins, not just scales. Got to have both. Fins and scales. Verse 10. And all that have not fins and scales in the seas and in the rivers, of all that move in the waters, and of any living thing which is in the waters, they shall be an abomination unto you. Verse 11, they shall be even an abomination unto you. Ye shall not eat of their flesh, but ye shall have their carcasses in abomination. Whatsoever have no fins nor scales in the waters, that shall be an abomination unto you. So if it doesn't have fins and scales, it's an abomination. Just fins, abomination. Just scales, abomination. If it doesn't have either, abomination. So that's the clear understanding, because we go out, we when we were younger, we thought Red Lobster was it was a privilege to be able to go to Red Lobster. I remember my first time going to Red Lobster. Man, listen, I thought we made it. I thought we made it out, because it's shown and is propagated in this country as, a upscale restaurant. But the whole time, what are they serving? What are they serving? They're serving abominations. But abominations to what people? The children of Israel. The other nations, they eat whatever they want to eat, right? But the children of Israel, they're an abomination unto us. So these things that they make seem like delicacy in their kingdom is an abomination unto us. And that's why when we look at Ezekiel 29, 39 and 23, the heathen shall know that the children of Israel went into captivity because of their iniquities. So what do? They make these fools look like delicacies because it's iniquity to us. That's why they put pork in everything, because they know it's iniquity to who? To us. Anything to keep down the children of Israel, that's what it's going to be. So we got to kind of see through Satan's wiles, see through his schemes, and understand that the Most High created us. The Most High created the nation of Israel. He created every nation, but he chose us. And he wanted us to be sanctified and holy unto him. And part of that is the way that we eat the food, because he created the animals. He would know what's good for us and what's not. He created us. Just like you deal with your car. You look at the manual to see what type of oil that you need in there, right? What type of parts you need for it. You can't just throw anything on the car. You can't just put any type of gas in the car, because it's going to mess it up. And who knows, who gives you that information? The manufacturers, the creators of the machine, tell you what the machines need, because we didn't create ourselves. Let's get that. Book of Psalms, chapter 100 and verse 3. And it reads, know ye that the Most High, he is our power. It is he that hath made us, and not we ourselves. We are his people and the sheep of his pasture. So the Most High God created us. He knows that eating the crab is not good. He knows that eating the pig is going to give you gout in your later years. He knows these things. He knows these things. So why not listen to his instruction about his creation, which you are? Now, of course, especially in the Christian church, the philosophy or doctrine that the law is done away with, it's a stumbling block to our people. So I'm going to go to two scriptures that are pulled most of the time when Leviticus 11 and 7 is brought to somebody. So let's get that. Go to the book of Mark, chapter 7. And let's start off at verse 14. And it reads, and when he had called all the people unto him, he said unto them, hearken unto me, every one of you, and understand. This is YAHAWASHI speaking, who the world ignorantly called Jesus Christ. Verse 15, there is nothing from without a man that entering into him can defile him, but the things which are come out of him, those are they that defile the man. If any man have ears to hear, let him hear. And when he was entered into the house from the people, his disciples asked concerning the parable. So after he said this, the disciples, they inquire. They want to know what did he just mean? Because obviously Leviticus 11 and 7 talk about unclean foods. So is YAHAWASHI speaking contrary to the word? Let's see. Verse 17. Salaki, verse 18. And he said unto them, are ye so without understanding also? Like he's asking, shouldn't y'all already understand this? That was a simple parable. Do ye not perceive that whatsoever thing from without entereth into the man, it cannot defile him, because it entereth not into his heart. That's the key. That's the key. It entereth not into his heart, but into the belly, and goeth out into the drought, purging all meats. So what he's saying is that, listen, let's say you did eat, let's say you did eat pig, right? Let's say you did eat the pig. You would eat it, it would go into your stomach, it will come out the other end. But what's the real issue? The real issue is that in your heart, you don't find it to be wrong. That's the only reason you consumed it in the first place. In your heart, you thought it was lawful for you to consume the crab, for you to consume the pig, for you to consume the lobster. That's the true problem. That's what's truly defiling you, is your heart, which is what your mind, what it's set on, what it's convinced of. That's the true defilement. Nonetheless, the meat is still unclean. It's still unlawful for you to eat. But it just goes into your body and it comes out the other end. But nonetheless, the true defilement comes from your mindset about the unclean food. That regardless of what Leviticus 11:7 says, you're still going to consume it. Let's keep reading. Verse 20. And he said, that which cometh out of the man, that defileth him. And he gives some examples. Verse 21. From within, out of the heart of men proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, murderers, thefts, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lasciviousness, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within and defile the man. So he's not saying that it's lawful for you to eat unclean foods. He's just saying that the true defilement comes from what's in your heart. But if it's in your heart to eat these unclean foods, then you are defiled. So let's get that understanding. You are defiled, because what when we read about the dietary laws, what is it? It's in the laws of the Most High God. And any transgression of the laws of the Most High God, what is that considered? It says the book of 1 John chapter 3 and verse 4. Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. Right? So at the end of the day, YAHAWASHI is not, he's not advocating that you break the law. He wouldn't do that, because the scriptures say that he's not the minister of sin. Let's get that. You get the book of Galatians. Start Galatians chapter 2 and verse 17. And it reads, but if, while we seek to be justified by Hamashiach, we ourselves also are found sinners, is therefore Christ the minister of sin? YAHAWAH forbid. So he's not the minister of sin. So if we find in the law that you can't eat pork, shrimp, crab, lobster, mussels, oysters, and we read in 1 John 3 and 4 that transgression of the law is sin, and YAHAWASHI's parable is to truly be understood, we understand that he is not saying that you can eat unclean meats, because he is not the minister of sin. Now let's go to the second scripture that's mostly used to justify eating unclean meats. 1 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 1. And it reads, now the Spirit speaketh expressly, that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, speaking lies in hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron, forbidding to marry, and commanding to abstain from meats, which the Most High hath created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth. So now, if we read in context from verse 1 to verse 3, it's saying that in the latter times, there are going to be people who's going to have doctrines that forbid you to marry and for you to abstain from meats that the Most High created. So now we have to look back to see out of those creatures that the Most High created, which one of them are clean and unclean, because it says, which the Most High hath created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe, and know the truth. So what is the truth? Because that's imperative for you to understand this verse here. Let's give the book of Psalms, chapter 119 and verse 142. And it reads, Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. So once again, the law is the truth. So now let's read back 1 Timothy 4 and 3. 1 Timothy 4 and 3. Forbidding to marry and commanding to abstain from meats which God hath created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth. So now, if I want to eat some beef or some chicken or some goat, and somebody comes to me and tell me that I can't eat that, well, says who? Because that's a doctrine of devils. That's contrary to the Most High God. The Most High said those are clean beasts. I can eat those. But whoever comes with their doctrine saying that I can't eat that, that's not according to Scripture. Because I know the truth. I know which meats I can and cannot eat. I know I can't eat the pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster, but I know that I can eat the chicken, the turkey, the goat, the cow. I can eat those things. So me knowing the truth, I'm not going to be deceived by this devil doctrine that comes onto me. Verse 4, for every creature of God is good, and nothing to be refused, if it be received with thanksgiving, for it is sanctified by the word of God and prayer. So now somebody might read that and say, well, as long as I pray over the food, right, that it's good to go. No, that's not what it's saying, because you have to know the truth. And if you knew that the pork, the shrimp, the crab, and the lobster was an abomination, and you asking the Most High God to bless this and sanctify it, that's backwards, man. That lets you know that you don't have true understanding, right? Because yeah, there's unclean things that we can't eat ants, but ants they make the ground porous to allow the earth to breathe. We can't eat bees, but the bees pollinate the flowers. So we don't refuse these things. We don't want them eradicated off of the earth, right? But nonetheless, they have their purpose, but they are not to be eaten. They are not to be eaten, because all we have to do is go back to Leviticus the 11th chapter, see what we can eat and what we can't eat. So now, once again, there's also, veganism, so to speak, where it's kind of two schools of thought. One being no harm to animals, and the other being that humans weren't meant to eat meat. And of course, we try to better ourselves and things like that. And we see these documentaries that come out about the food industry and what they put in the meats and everything like that. But it's also what they put in the what they spray the plants with, right? It's really no way to get around eating that defiled bread here in America and or anywhere else, because the powers that be who control these industries, right, they have the say so over the food production. If they want to just produce it, in mass quantities because they need to, it's a hot commodity and everybody wants it. They don't really care of the quality of it. They just need to do what they need to do in order to get paid. Let's get that in Ezekiel. Salaki, 1 second. Book of Ezekiel, chapter 4 and verse 13. And it reads, and the Most High said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whither I will drive them. So it was prophesied that we were going to eat that defiled bread, right? Those GMO foods, those the man-made plants, the man-made fruits, all of these things, man, that these other nations have defiled the Most High God's creation with all this, like all their scientific research. But nonetheless, we still got to use wisdom. We got to stay on track. So I understand the concern of how the food is produced, the meat is produced, and all of these things. But let's see if the Most High God is with the schools of thought in veganism. Let's get the book of Exodus, chapter 12, and verse 1. And the Most High spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speaking about the month of Abib. Verse 3. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month ye shall take to them every man a lamb according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your account for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. Ye shall take it from out the sheep or from the goats, and ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. So listen, the Most High God commands us to kill animals, man. When we putting up our sin offerings and our offerings that are sold in the temple, it's animals that we're killing. So this whole, trying to condemn somebody for eating meat because you have to kill the animal to do so. Listen, the Most High God, he's not backing that. He's not backing that doctrine, right? You can't command us with the doctrine of the devil to abstain from meats when the Most High is literally telling us that we need to kill a lamb for the Passover. Verse 7. And they shall take the blood. They shall take of the blood and strike it on the two side posts and the upper doorposts of the houses wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night. So the Most High God wants us to kill it, and then we got to eat of it. So once again, saying that, humans were never made to eat meat. Listen, the Most High God is commanding us to kill the animal and to eat it. So that doctrine kind of gets debunked right there. And with bitter herbs, they shall eat it. Verse 9, eat not of it raw. So we can't now, listen, even with dealing with eating the meats, we can't eat it raw. So when you go and you get your steak, well done. I don't care how, oh man, it's not as juicy when it's medium rare. Listen, well done. You shouldn't be seeing no blood, seeping out of the steak, man, or anything else. Make sure it's cooked. Nor sodden at all with water, but roast with fire his head with his legs, and with the pureness thereof. Now it says not sodden with water at all, but this is pertaining, directly to the Passover, because we can make chicken soup, right? The chicken is salted in water. Beef stew, right? It's salted in water, but the eating of it not raw, or the not eating of blood, is across the board. All right, let's prove that. Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 12 and verse 23, and it reads, only be sure that thou eat not the blood, for the blood is the life, and thou mayest not eat the life with the flesh. So no blood. No blood. Your meat should not have blood. Make sure you cook it. Make sure you do whatever you have to do to get that blood out of there. We are not to consume bloody flesh. We're not vampires, man. All right? We're not savages. We are not to consume bloody flesh. Verse 24. Thou shalt not eat it. Thou shalt pour it upon the earth as water. So dump it out, right? If we, some of us who live on a farm or grew up on that country life, you know that you hang the animal upside down, cut his throat. Those are where those major arteries are found. Let it bleed out, man. Right? Let it go onto the earth as water. Verse 25. Thou shalt not eat it, that it may go well with thee and with thy children after thee, when thou shalt do that which is right in the sight of the Most High. So that's the right thing to do. That's the proper way to go about it, right? That's the proper way to go about dealing with your animals, man. Now, that being said, I'm not saying that you should or the script, but the scriptures is not saying that you should just be eating meat for every single meal every single day, because you have to think about it. Yes, in this day and age, we can go to the supermarket, the meat is readily available. But what if we had to slaughter our cattle, right? That wouldn't be something that we would do every day. We would be eating, a plant-based meal throughout the week, along with eating our meat meals throughout the week. There would be a balance. There would be a balance, and the scriptures speak about that. Let's get the book of Sirach, chapter 37 and verse 30. Salakia. And it reads, for excess of meats. Salakia. Let's start at verse 29. Be not unsatiable in any daily thing, nor too greedy upon meats. So it's basically saying like uh society is when you get full. So it's saying be not unsatiable in any dainty thing. So don't always be wanting something. Every single minute you gotta eat, right? Be full, be content, right? You had your nice little meal, you're good. You don't, you probably get seconds, but you don't have to get third, fourths, and fifths, right? You're good, you're all right, you're full. Verse 30. For excess of meats bringeth sickness, and suffering will turn into choler. So what is it saying? That we eat too much meat, that can also bring on sickness. So we need to have that balance. We need to have those, plant-based meals 2-3 times a week, along with a meat meal 2-3 times a week. We need to fast. We need to make sure we're drinking our water. We need to make sure we're taking our herbal teas and things of that sort. Because at the end of the day, it's all about balance. All right. It's all about balance. But veganism, the doctrine of it, that's not something that we have to do exactly. But nonetheless, it's also not, good for us to consume meats day in, day out. You know what I mean? So we also we gotta be balanced on that, because we can all attest when we was younger, we could eat anything. It didn't affect us. But as you get older, you don't have that balanced diet. It's you start to feel the effects. But if we look to our older generation, our elders in the 50, 60 range, they complain about that arthritis. They complain about that gout. They complain about, you know, um, uh, uh, colon diseases and things of that sort. So we don't want to, disregard the Most High's laws. We don't want to disregard the dietary laws and what He said for us to do, because at the end of the day, there's going to be a judgment for it. But let's get these last two scriptures and see why our people, they don't really take heed too much to it. Book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 8 and verse 11, and it reads, because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil. You see, because we don't get, listen, If we had a microscope and we could see all the little microscopic bugs, man, running around in our stomach after we eat these unclean foods, all the nasty and harmful byproducts that it produces once digested, we wouldn't deal with it, man. Right? But the Most High, guess what? He has mercy on us. So Most High, you don't allow those things to take effect right away. But eventually they do. Eventually they do. And like I said, you might get the gout, or you might get the high blood pressure, or you might get the arthritis when you were, in this day and age, right? But let's see the judgment. Let's see the judgment for those wanting to eat unclean meats, never giving it up, and getting caught by Hamashiach and the angels, man, on that day of judgment. The book of Isaiah, chapter 66, start with verse 15. And it reads, For behold, the Most High will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Most High plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh, and the abomination and the mouse shall be consumed together, saith the Most High. So if it wasn't a big deal, why is it that the people eating the swine's flesh, right? The people eating the mouse and the unclean meats, why are they getting destroyed? Why is this thing specifically mentioned? Because it's against the laws of God. It's against the laws of God, man. Now, it says purifying themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst. Now, let's see if this is saying, talking about an actual tree, because trees, the Most High refers to men, governments, as trees, right? Let's see. Let's prove that. Let me get the book of. I'm gonna stay in Isaiah. Go to chapter 1 and verse, start at 28, and it reads, And the destruction of the transgressors and of the sinners shall be together, and they that forsake the Most High shall be consumed, for they shall be ashamed of the oaks which ye have desired, and shall be confounded for the gardens that ye have chosen. Now let's see what this oak is pertaining to. Let's see what this oak is pertaining to. Going into the Blue Letter Bible. Oh, slack it. All right. Going to the Blue Letter Bible. What we see here, right? We got Strong's H352 for oak. And what does it say? Ram. Ram is food. Ram is sacrifice. Ram skin dyed red for tabernacle. Pillar, doorpost, jabs, pilaster. Strong man, leader, chief. All right. So now let's read it back. That's a lot. Let's read it back. Isaiah 1 and 29. And it reads, For they shall be ashamed of the leaders, the chief men, which ye have desired, and ye shall be confounded for the gardens that ye have chosen. So you're going to be ashamed, right, for listening to the American leaders, or these heathen leaders saying, yeah, you can eat whatever you want. The church leaders, yeah, you can eat whatever you want, right? And be confounded for the gardens that ye have chosen. What do you do in the garden? You sow and you reap. Now, do you want to be in the garden of devils or the garden of the Most High God? Right? Where you sow and you reap righteousness with the Most High. But in the garden of devils, what you do? You sow and you reap wickedness, man. You sow and you reap wickedness. So let's jump back to Isaiah 66. Isaiah 66 and 15. 17. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree, right? Behind one person, behind one man, behind one government, right? And let's get that in the NLT. All right, it says, those who consecrate and purify themselves in a sacred garden with its idol in the center, feasting on pork and rats and other detestables meat, will come to a terrible end, says the Most High God. So at the end of the day, man, it's a judgment for that. It's a judgment for that. So hopefully, Yashavala, y'all were edified concerning the dietary law, concerning what we can eat, what we can't eat. Something that you could easily do when it comes to things in the water. If you're not sure about a fish, just go on Google. Does whatever fish you about to buy have fins and scales? It's that easy. If it don't have fins and scales, don't eat it. If it has fins and scales, you're good to go. All right. The Most High don't make these things hard, man. It's simple. But we have to be fully persuaded that everything that He given to us is given to us for our good. And with that, I want to say peace and grace be unto the nation of Yasharallah. Israel continue to, put in the work for the Most High. Continue to, mortify, those fleshly lusts each and every day. Don't give up the fight. We almost there. And I love y'all. Kwam Yasharallah.